Hello my friends, my name is Dragonheart, the Prince of Wales, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Gaming. So I'm recording this on my phone. I can't remember what episode number this is. I think it's 15. If not, I do apologise, but I'm on my phone, not on the PC, so I have access to all the thumbnails and stuff on the PC. But yeah, I thought I'd do something different. I'm using some different things, different tools. I'm trying to make every episode a little bit different as well, so that's why I'm just doing it on my phone. I did a video on my phone recently regarding an Apex tournament that I've got going on, and that worked quite well. It involved me recording on my phone and then sending to the cloud, which I'm not used to, and then taking things off like Google Drive and things like that. And I thought the quality was pretty good, so I'm just going to try it again, but for a Let's Talk Gaming instead. And plus you get to see a slightly different variation of the background as well and things like that, which is always very good. Now in today's video, I thought it would be very good to talk about football games. Oh, football games. Ooh. I have a long history with football games. I'm a massive, massive football fan, as many of you know. Just behind me on the shelf, just behind the Apex Legends pop vinyls, you'll see a load of little heads, but they are the Premier League and Champions League winning Liverpool team, plus some other players from years gone by as well that I've been collecting. I got Liverpool shirts up there. I'm a massive Liverpool fan, as you know. I'm also a Cardiff City fan. I'm also a fan of Welsh football. Support the national team, obviously. And I also have gone to watch my local team, Merthyr Town, play a couple of times as well. So I'm really invested in football, and I'm really invested in football games. I started playing football games in the 90s, probably mid to late 90s. I started playing ISS Pro Evolution, which was a fantastic game back in the day. Really, really good game. And basically that company broke off. So you had ISS, which is International Superstar Soccer, and Pro Evolution Soccer, which was the other company. That's where the two went. I actually owned both games for a long time. ISS, I had ISS 1, 2, and 3. They had like the official kits for the national teams, but didn't have like the right names and stuff, because obviously it's legal matters to licensing and stuff that goes on with football games. So you'd have like the Welsh kit from like 96, I think it was in the first game, which had like a dragon motif on the front, which was lovely. And you had like Ian Rush and Mark Hughes and players like that and thing. Appearances wise, no one looked that good, to be honest with you. We talk about the mid-90s by here. You have players, you basically had your skin tone, and you had like a choice of 3 haircut styles with 3 different colours, like black, blonde, and like grey or something like that. So there's no variation. There's no like face customization, no option for like beards and things like that. It was very, very limited to what you could do back then. But the gameplay was pretty good. And then I went on to ISS 2, and then finally ISS 3, which I think came out around 2001. I can always remember playing that game on PlayStation 2. I think it was PlayStation 2. And I always remember there's only like 3 or 4 stadiums in the game, and there's only the national teams in the game as well. I mean, I suppose you're back into a corner when it's called International Superstar Soccer. You can only really do international teams, can't you? And I remember playing England versus Italy, I think it was, and even though they didn't have the licensing names for all the players and stuff, I remember scoring a goal with Michael Owen, who was one of my favourite players back then, playing for Liverpool. And the commentator in the stadium, I could hear him going, "Goal scored for England, scored by player number 10, Michael Owen." And I remember being blown away back then, going, "Oh my God, they've got like stadium announcers announcing the player scoring a goal," which back then to me was like mind blowing. I was like, "Oh my God, like that's like the future of gaming." I mean, you get it all the time in like FIFA and stuff now, don't you? But back then I was like, whoa, like 20 years before its time almost. It was crazy. So I played the ISS and enjoyed that. Pro Evolution Soccer was the game which drew me in, though. The gameplay was so much better. I feel like they got the better half of the split. Pro Evolution Soccer 1 I had, 2 I had, and 3. And 3 changed the game engine quite a lot, but it improved in such a way. And I got a copy of 3 upstairs in the attic. I wish I brought it down for this video. And it's like the first football game I can think of that has a referee on the front cover. That's how ballsy they were. Pierluigi Collina, the famous Italian referee who had the iconic stare, with a bald head. He refereed the 2002 World Cup final. Well, he's on the front cover of the game, and the game was so good. And I remember doing like a Master League campaign. Master League is basically season mode, but it's career mode, but it's called Master League. And historically, with Konami and with Pro Evolution Soccer, you had a team of fake players, like Yimarez and Costolo, players like that, which are icons in the Pro Evolution Soccer sort of community. And you would... I remember playing as Fulham. This just shows you what you could do back then. I remember playing as Fulham, playing in Master League Division 2, aka the Championship, getting promoted with Fulham, in my first transfer window selling some of the fake players and getting John Arnorisa and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I was role playing, pretending I had like a Norwegian millionaire or something back in the club. So I brought in like a couple of Norwegian players, role playing, get to the Premier League, have like a decent sort of season, win the league later on, obviously, and then win the Champions League against Bayern Munich in the final. I went from having like the 2 Norwegians to buying like all the legends. So I had like Jose Luis Chilavert, who was a fantastic goalkeeper, a goalkeeper that takes free kicks. Amazing. He's a Paraguayan legend. I had like George Best playing. I had like John Charles. I had like Maradona, Ian Rush. I think I had Emmanuel Petit in there. I think I had a good number of legends of football. Plus I had John Arnorisa and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in there at the starting point. And you could role play quite a lot and do quite a lot of stuff with it. It was so cool. So I remember that. And playing Provision Soccer 4, 5 and 6. Some of my favourite gaming memories is when I was younger and playing those games with my dad. And literally, like, my dad come home from work, he'd be tired and everything. And I'd put the PlayStation on, I'd load up the PS2, load up the console to get the game. And I'd play as Italy because I love Italian football. I can even remember the starting 11 that I used to play. That's how sad I am, how vividly I remember it. I'd play as Italy, he'd play as France, or I'd play as France, he'd play as Italy. They're like the two we always pick. We pick other teams, we pick England sometimes, pick Wales, Ireland, Germany, Spain. We picked some of them, but most of the time it was France, Italy. They were like the 2 best teams. If you think of those 2 teams from 2002 up to 2006, they were. I mean, they were World Cup finalists in 2006, both of them. But the Italy team I used to pick was Gianluigi Buffon in goals. I had Zambrotta right back. I had, I think it was Del Grosso, or his name was, left back. I had Nesta and Cannavaro, and then they had Stefano Fiore on the right hand side. He was a midfielder. I had Gennaro Gattuso. I had Francesco Totti playing in there as well. I had Alessandro Del Piero, like cutting in off the left, like a left-sided forward, but I had him like really far out, but I have him cutting back in. And then I had Christian Vieri and Filippo Inzaghi. What a team that was. Really imbalanced, very attack-minded, but that's how I wanted to play them. And the France team, which was, World Cup finalists in 2006 as well, were great. So, like, they're some of my favourite game memories and playing those games with my dad. I played other football games in the 90s as well. I played, I'm trying to think what they call it. So I had FIFA, obviously good FIFA. I got into FIFA with the France 98 World Cup. That was my first FIFA game. I absolutely loved it, especially when you put the disc in the PlayStation 1 and then tab thumping. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to kick me down. When that song plays, that's the intro for the game. Like, you just there, just head bopping, just waiting to play. It was such a good game. So I had that. Then I ended up, a few years later, going like a car boot sale type thing. I went there with one of them, and I saw a bunch of like PlayStation games and just bought a bunch of them, and I ended up getting like what was it, Michael Owen World Soccer, I think it was called, which was interesting. There was the Ronaldo, the Brazilian Ronaldo Nazario. He had his own game. I bought that. I had France 98 Road to the World Cup, which is basically FIFA 98, but Road to the France World Cup. So I like tied the game into the other game I had, where you play like all the qualifiers and stuff first. And now you also had club teams called FIFA. I went and bought FIFA 97, which I ended up buying that like 10 years after it came out. I bought it for like £1 somewhere. I remember playing it, just going back and playing it, thinking, man, this game's amazing. It had Ian Rush playing for Newcastle United. Like, I'm at an age where I just kind of missed out on Ian Rush's career, even though he's one of my favourite legends of football. He's a Welsh goal scoring legend, was the highest scorer for Wales until Bale took his record. And he currently is and still is the Liverpool all-time goal scoring record holder. So I have Ian Rush in such high esteem. So to see to have Newcastle, because he's at Newcastle by this point, and his legs are gone, but he was there, was interesting. But what I liked with FIFA 97 was they had an indoor football mode where you could play like 5-a-side, so to hit the ball off the walls and stuff. This was before like FIFA Street came out, or you had like Volta mode in FIFA at the moment, things like that. This was like proper like indoor football, which I loved, and squads of 5. So they're some of my favourite gaming memories of football. I got into gaming football management around 2003, I want to say, with the PlayStation 2. I had LMA Manager, and I bought every copy of this game. I bought LMA Manager 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. The only difference is out of all of them, 2006 version of the game, I bought on the original Xbox because I used to own an Xbox. I used to have some Xbox games, not many, but most of them were Star Wars games I had. But I had LA Manager 2006 on Xbox, and then the rest I had on PlayStation 2 and 3, etc. Lovely game. I love the fact you can actually design your stadium. Like you could upgrade. You'd have like, for example, you have like Goodison Park at Everton, and then if you wanted to, it'd say like 40 whatever thousand fans, and then you could like put a request into the board to upgrade it, and then you could actually select the stand you want to upgrade. As long as you had the money to do it, you could do it, and then you could like really go like ridiculous, and you could, because it had like licensed things of actual stadiums in the world football, so you could have like 3 sides of the ground could be like Everton's ground, and then the one side behind the goals could just be Wembley's arch. It was weird. You could just do really weird things with it. And then they eventually got rid of it in the end, and I think they got rid of that mode altogether. And then after 2007, they stopped making LMA Manager. I'm not sure if they actually brought it back like a one-off PC thing a few years later, but by that point, Football Manager had become so prominent and everything, and it just kind of killed the game off. But LMA Manager was good. I remember, so my highlights with LMA Manager, I got 2 big highlights of that game series. One is, I think it was LMA Manager 2002, I want to say, playing as Wrexham in the 4th tier. And you could basically check overall ratings of players in the leagues and stuff with like the scouting reports. And as long as you had the money, you could buy anyone pretty much. It wasn't like, negotiations and stuff. If you had the money, you could just go and buy them. So you'd look at the overall rating and just look at every position. And just, as long as you had a good stat for every player, you'd do well. So I ended up buying like all the best players in 2nd tier, got promoted. But all the best players in 3rd tier promoted, and just kept doing that. And I got into the Premier League. The Premier League was a lot more of a struggle. It didn't have the finances and stuff, but getting Wrexham into the Premier League was such an amazing feeling. So that was one of my favourite playthroughs I had of one of the earlier LMA Manager games. And then one of my other ones came, I think it was LMA Manager 2007, Newcastle United. This is Newcastle United when you have Michael Owen at the club and Alan Shearer. I think he was still there at that time. And I got Newcastle to the Champions League final and won the Champions League. This was against Barcelona of all teams in the final that had Ronaldinho and Messi. This is like a young Messi player at the time, and Deco and Ludovic Giuli, that kind of team. I mean, they famously won the Champions League in 2006 against Arsenal, 2-1 in the final. So it's that team pretty much. I remember being so frustrated though, because I had the save file the day before the final, and I played the final the first time and I lost. I played it again, lost. I think I did, like, I just kept getting so frustrated. I just kept going, there's no way we're going to win this. This game is fixed. And I had a good Newcastle team at that point. To get to the final, it was obviously good. I had some of the best players in the world. I think I had, like, Juan Roman Riquelme, the famous Argentinian and Villarreal player. He's really good. Players like that on the team. And, we won it eventually. But I think it took me my 8th or 9th roll of the save file before the game sort of rewarded me with a win. I was like, oh, I finally won the Champions League after the 8th attempt. So that was that. And then Football Manager took over around 2006, 2007, bit of a crossover. I think I bought Football Manager 2006 during the 2007 season. So it was like the game from the year before. I think I bought it for like a £5 in like a charity shop somewhere. And I remember playing it and I got hooked. I was like, oh, I'll buy next year's game in that case. And I bought the following game. And then I pretty much bought every Football Manager, more or less. I've missed out a few. I haven't bought this year's. I did buy last year's. I didn't buy the years before. And then there's another year I didn't play. So there's like 3 years out of the last 15, I'd say, when I haven't bought it. It's not really something I play now. I don't really play any football games now. And I'll get to that in a moment. But Football Manager back then, such a good game. It's still a good game, but I don't play it as much now. One, it takes so much time to get into a good save and everything, which I haven't really got much time to play games like that these days. 2, I like playing it when you've got like all the licensed kits and faces and stuff. And the problem is that I'll go on to like Sorted Out website where you can pay like a £10 fee and you get like all the save file all in one. You can do it for free, but it takes ages. But it takes ages anyway because the game files are like 50, 60, 70 gig of just files that you got to like transport to your game file and everything. It's just so annoying. But Football Manager, I love Football Manager. I got big, in my heart, Football Manager is a good game and everything. I love it, but it's just time commitments and stuff. And also the fact the last few iterations of the game that I've bought, I haven't really justified buying it because I've played like fewer than like 20 hours or fewer than like 30 or 40 hours. Whereas on the older games, I would put over 100 hours easily on some of them. So I can't really justify it buying them or playing them anymore, but that's a game that I got to mention as well. I played some other silly games like Sensible Soccer and things like that. I played some of the versions of that back in the day. I played the Pro Evolution Soccer management game that came out around the mid-2000s. That was quite an interesting game. I bought that, I played that. I just basically used the Pro Evolution Soccer game engine, but then had like a management thing overlay on it instead. So that was interesting as well. And then obviously FIFA. I played FIFA down the years. Pro Evolution Soccer for me was always where it was at. The gameplay was so much better. Then around 2012, 2013, FIFA started, I think it went to the next gen for PS4 and Xbox One. And they sort of improved the game a lot at that point. There was a big jump from like 2011, 12 to around 13, 14. Whereas PES sort of jumped off a cliff. And that's been the common theme with PES, where on the PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3 generation, they dominate the PlayStation 2 generation of football games. And then PlayStation 3 version comes along, and all the customization options, all of the gameplay options, the lighting, everything was just so poorly done. It just nosedived and took a year or so to recover. And then PES 2009 and 10, 11 were pretty good. 12 and 13 were really good. I remember 13 really enjoying that on the PC a few years back. And then next gen came around again, this time for the PS4 and Xbox One. Took a nosedive yet again. The player faces looked like they were made of clay. The editing was limited again. The gameplay had just gone poor. And again, it took him a couple more years to recover. And that's been the running theme for the past couple of generations of PES now. And it happened again. We've got the new next gen with the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X. And yet again, they've cocked things up. They've turned the game into a free-to-play model where it's online only. And then if you want to get like career mode and stuff, they're going to be added on later on. We got to pay for. But then it's a free-to-play game. So it's free-to-play online, but then you've got to buy modes. No guarantee those modes are going to be any good, because those modes have been stale for a number of years anyway. And the new game engine's just poor, very glitchy, players not responding the right way, and it just doesn't feel nice to play. I played the demo of it, wasn't impressed with the demo. I've seen gameplay online, glad I didn't bother downloading it or giving it a go. And then FIFA's kind of gone the same way, unfortunately. FIFA, like I said, 2012, 2013, FIFA was pretty good. It then went stale for a number of years. For years, everyone's saying, oh, give us more career mode content, give us more options. Never happens. They do very small, almost unnoticeable changes, because with EA and FIFA, the money is in the online, the money's in the Ultimate Team. And that's the unfortunate situation we're in at the moment. You've got Pro Evolution Soccer, which there's no point bothering with anymore. The gameplay's terrible, and there's not really any modes to it at the moment. FIFA, and there's not many licenses. There are licenses, but licenses don't bother me. As long as I got a good edit mode and stuff, I don't mind modding or editing stuff myself to make the as pure as I can. So the licenses doesn't bother me as much as it does some people. But that's what's happened with PES. And then FIFA, which has pretty much gone open shot now to just dominate the footballer market, which it is doing with sales and stuff, just doesn't want to try. It's almost like, well, it's like the next gen. I was excited to play the next gen FIFA. I've actually sold my copy of FIFA now. But I was excited to play the next gen of it, and it's small things. It's like, on the next gen, you've got the kids, when the Champions League music comes on, walking up with you. It's like, that's cool. But once you've seen it, it's like, can you add actual meaningful features to the game? Can you make the gameplay actually feel less robotic and more natural? Can you add meaningful depth to my player career mode? And can you make player career mode more realistic and things like that? So that's the thing. There's not many football games at the moment. I'm hoping one will come up in the next few years that will raise eyebrows and make people take notice. Because I love football games. I hope to be in a situation in years to come where I was with my dad, where he'd come over from work and I got to play some games with him and play some football games, enjoy them. I hope that I have a child in a few years' time, and it'll be a really good football game out there that I can do that with. That's what I'm hoping for. But at the moment, the football gaming market isn't just not that good. It's worse now than I can ever remember. I don't know if that's because I'm getting older and I'm an adult, but I just remember football games being much better many years ago. Anyway, guys, I've been Dragon